Yo dudes, Khrase here, welcome back to another Cyberpunk video. Today, let's jump right into it with the best early on items that you definitely not want to miss on. Especially since, well, yes, these are extremely missable. You can get them really early on assuming that you get the proper choices, but at the same time, I will also teach you how to look for really amazing items a bit later on into the game. So small spoilers alert, I will talk about one of the missions in Act 1. It's actually one mission as soon as you finish the introductory part of your life path, and hopefully you already made those choices, but if not, you can use them in your second playthrough or go back to them. So as always, if you enjoyed this video at any point, don't forget to leave a thumbs up on it, and let's jump right into it. Let's begin with the mission called Pickup in Act 1. We've seen this quite a bit of because it was also in the 2018 gameplay video. You know, the one where you meet Meredith for the very first time and also make contact with the Maelstrom gang. Now there are at least a few items hidden behind the dialogue choices, so here is the first one. This is especially for all of the netrunners out there. It is called the Synapse Burnout, and it's likely the very first lethal demon that you can get your hands on and install on your cyber deck. So it's going to be way more powerful than anything you have so far, and it also doesn't cost too much RAM to actually cast. Now when you first meet Meredith, she will offer you a corporate chip that you can choose to use or not use later on in the mission. Without spoiling anything, just accept the chip, but do know that it is going to be spiked with a virus and we will have to hack into it if we want to get that Synapse Burnout. So in this case, go into the pause menu, journal and shards, and from this point on just scroll at the bottom up until you find the Militech chip. From this point on, choose to hack it, and by default most people probably only chose to neutralize it, and that was pretty much it. But there is a sequence that you can follow to get both the neutralize option as well as to copy the malware, which is going to give you that demon I was talking about. So this is basically going to be the sequence that you will want to follow. It starts from the 5th row at the top, then go at the bottom, and from this point on just follow the sequence as you see it right here on the screen. If you do that, you will get both a bigger payout and you will also get that Synapse Burnout that you can immediately apply to your character and use lethal demons right away, which is going to be extremely useful in the first few hours of the game. Now the next part is going to be also in the same mission a little bit later, and this is going to give you the reward called the Chaos Tech Pistol, which is one of the best pistols that you can get in the early game. Of course, it also unlocks a crafting recipe so that you can later craft it at a higher level so that it has much better stats, but it provides a random effect that gives you big boosts to damage, crit chance or status effect for each reload that you do. So this is going to mean a massive spike in damage that can carry you all the way into the middle of the story. Now this again is going to depend on a major decision that you do during the pickup mission, and it's going to be a bit later when you get to encounter the Maelstrom gang. So you have to decide if you want to side with the Militech, so with Meredith Stout, or with the Maelstroms, case in which if you pick the second option, you're not going to be able to take the gun at all from what I was able to tell. So if you want to get the Chaos Pistol, you will have to side with Meredith in the first place. To do that, simply follow the dialogue options up until you get into their gang hideout, and then you will get to meet Royce, which is kind of like their leader. And from this point on, you will want to pick the options that seem most neutral, but eventually you're going to be presented with the opportunity to kind of put a gun in his neck, case in which you're presented with a second option where you can immediately shoot and kind of just one shot kill him. Now of course this is something that you need to pay attention to because otherwise he can escape. Eventually if you do that, he will be much better prepared later on in the mission and it's going to be much more difficult to take him down. So this is probably going to be the best way to take him down, and he is still going to drop the same really awesome Chaos Pistol and of course a really awesome purple clothing piece. In fact, this is pretty much how it is going to work with most of the boss fights. Like if you're hunting iconic items, especially legendary ones, yeah, you will get these from boss enemies. Now in many of these cases you fight with these bosses anyway, but there are many more in there that will involve making a really tough decision. The rule of thumb over here is as follows: if you see a gang boss or an important character and really like a particular gun or a piece of clothing that he or she might have, well, this means that you usually have to take them out of the equation, if you know my meaning. Otherwise, if you care about those characters, you will not want to kill them, but in that case, just know that you will be locked out of these items and you cannot get them at all, because that was the only way to get them. Just keep these in mind and you will be good. But if you already made those choices, there is still an option for you, and that is through crafting. In fact, crafting and upgrading in this game is so potent that you can literally use it with any build you can think of. And that is because, well, at least by default, in the first few hours, you already get access to crafting simple green gear, like for example the Nekomara sniper rifle that is amazing for my stealth build that I'm using from really far away. So all items will scale to your current level, which means that once you level up and feel under geared, you can quickly craft even a green item and it will be at your current level and it will deal appropriate amount of damage. At the same time, you can also upgrade weapons, your old ones or existing ones, to higher qualities and also increase their damage and capabilities as a result. That's why I recommend not throwing especially the epic and the legendaries just yet, since you can upgrade them quite a bit. I would also say that crafting those greens in the early stages doesn't cost nearly as much as you would get from just disassembling stuff and getting it from random enemies and loot boxes, so you are good to go at least on this part. But this brings us to another really amazing iconic item, which is going to be the scalpel katana, likely the earliest you can get a katana, and especially so this one that is extremely powerful. Like, it gives you a massive crit chance increase and also applies bleed on attacks if you have the appropriate melee build. But the earliest you can get this in is going to be during the side mission called Big in Japan, sometimes in Act 1. So basically, eventually, if you continue the main story, you will get to meet this character called Rogue in Afterlife Bar. You will have a conversation with her, and once you get away from the table, make sure you stop and talk with Dennis, which should be right in front of you. Once you do that, he will give you the mission where you have to go in and rescue a certain person, and once you do that and meet Dennis again, you're going to see that right next to him it's going to provide you that katana, the scalpel, that is also an iconic one. So what this means that not only do you get the free item, but you also get the recipe for it so that you can craft it at a much higher level later on in the game. So really amazing one. Again, as I've said, the crit chance increase on this is really amazing. Also the bleed on attack is also really amazing, but you will need to have a perk investment over there in the melee build if you want to make use out of it. Now the final one that I'm going to talk about is going to be about something called suspected organized crime, because this is going to be your go-to method if you want to exclusively farm for iconic items so that you can unlock more blueprints to create even better items. And it's really easy to spot these on the map. You can just go ahead and take a look at these blue skull icons that you can find in various neighborhoods. So these are NCPD related events, but unlike the other ones, you don't just fight with the gangs, but you go ahead and invade them into their own hideouts. So this is going to be a little bit more challenging, but the challenging this activity is going to be, like moderate, very high risk, and so on and so forth, the higher the loot and the payout is going to be like. Case in which you will get those epics, those legendaries, and especially so you can get them from the bosses or the mini bosses that you encounter as you do these missions along the way. So really awesome ones. I really enjoy these ones. Definitely go ahead and do these, since there are quite a few on the map and you should have quite a ton of really awesome epics, legendaries, and iconics in no time. But this is it with today's video. As always, if you enjoyed it, don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.